my channel. If you're new here, my name is Shalini and I make videos about technology, data science, professional and personal development advice, and more. But today I'm going to be talking about the tech recruiting process. Fall recruiting season is underway and I know a lot of you are applying for internships and jobs and maybe already interviewing for some of these roles. A few years ago, I first started applying for technical positions and the process was so confusing and I had no idea what to expect. But since then, I have applied to a bunch of roles including data science, software engineering, and data engineering related positions. I've gotten to see how the recruiting process works for different companies, and while the specifics do vary a little, the general flow and process is the same. So today I'm going to dive in and explain what happens at each stage of the process, what each stage tests you on, what the purpose of it is, and how to prepare at a high level for each one of the stages. Typically, after you apply to a company position and you get selected to go through the process, there are 4 main stages that you want to look out for. There's usually some type of recruiter screening or call. There's also a coding challenge, some technical interviews, and behavioral interviews. The order of these vary from company to company, but typically the coding challenge and the recruiter screening happen earlier than the technical or behavioral interviews. Let's get into each one. First, I'll talk about the recruiter call and screening. This is usually a shorter phone call for the recruiter to get to know you a little better. Up to this point, you've usually submitted an application to the specific company position, or maybe you've been referred to the position. So this is the first personal contact you have in the whole interview process. Recruiters do this to see your interest in the company and to see what role you're interested in. A lot of the questions are more logistical questions. It's to see if you have the proper experience and skills for the role that you're applying for, and seeing if you're a good fit to go down the interview path. It's also a way for the recruiter to see which path they want to send you down. A lot of company applications are team-based, so if you specify a specific team or location that you're interested in working for, the recruiter can make sure you go down the right pipeline, so interviewing for that specific team or that specific location based on what your goal is. Also, sometimes recruiters do some basic technical screening during these calls. If anything, these are super simple technical questions, no coding required, just to make sure that you're a right fit for the role. Next up is a coding challenge. This could happen either before the recruiter call or afterwards. I've seen it happen both ways. Regardless, this is an opportunity for you to show off your coding skills. So typically with a lot of technical roles, they will give you access to a specific site like HackerRank, CoderPad, Codility are a few common sites. On that site, there will be some coding problems. The type of problems depends on the role that you're applying for. But usually you can pick whichever coding language you want to code in, and then the problem statement is given to you. And then there's a section where you can code out your solution and test it out with the test cases on the site. The goal is to get as many test cases working and also to consider hidden test cases. So test cases that aren't visible to you but consider edge cases or special cases of the problem. The overall challenge might be timed or might not be. That's really company dependent. In general, companies give out these coding challenges because they want to see your technical abilities either in a time setting or not. They also need a way to cut down the number of candidates that are applying to a specific role, so this is one of the ways they do that. Based on the solution you come up with, the test cases that you pass, and other factors, they can narrow down the applicant pool a little bit. A lot of companies also like to do take-home coding challenges. This is because the timed assessment isn't the best metric to see how well someone can go through a coding problem. Also, the types of problems that you can give during this timed coding assessment is limited. With take-home coding challenges, they're usually untimed, and they could give you a more in-depth practical problem for you to solve. For example, if you're applying to a data science position, they could give you some data and questions and they want you to conduct an analysis based on those questions. It's more of a free-form coding assessment. Which type of coding assessment depends on the company again, but it's really just another way to judge people's technical abilities. So after your recruiter call and screening happens, and after you take the coding challenge, the next step of the process are the technical interviews. If you're applying to an intern position, usually there will be less technical interviews as compared to a full-time position. Technical interviews usually happen in person or over the phone or a video call, although during this pandemic it's become more of the phone call or video call. Technical interviews can take on many different forms. You could be coding in front of someone live, you could be doing pair programming and mimicking a real work experience, you could be going through technical case studies, answering questions about your previous technical experience, or explaining technical concepts. In a technical interview, the interviewer wants to see how you think about the problems that they present and usually how you can code it out. The interviewer is there to talk to and bounce ideas off of. Definitely ask any clarifications or questions that you have while you're coding. I personally think this is a huge advantage over coding challenges because you can actually explain your thought process while you're coding, and the company and the interviewer can see how you think about things. Usually at the end of a technical interview, there is time to ask the interviewer questions, which is a great opportunity to learn more about the company, the role, and the experience of the person who's been interviewing you. The other type of interviews that happen during the recruiting process are behavioral interviews. These are interviews that are focused less on your technical skills and more about how you would fit with the company. The interviews usually ask about examples where you've shown leadership, teamwork, communication, deadlines, and more. They really want to get a sense of your personality and work ethic and why you want to work at the company after going through the interview process. With behavioral interviews, it's important to have some stories and actual examples of situations that you've been in where you might have shown leadership or you might have shown your communication skills. So those are the 4 main parts of the technical interview process. Like I mentioned before, based on the company that you're applying for, the specific role that you're applying for, if it's an internship or a full-time position, the number of all these aspects and what order it happens in, and how long it takes will vary. The internship recruiting process is usually shorter than the full-time recruiting process. With the internship, they give you a taste of what full-time looks like. Full-time also tends to have a lot more interviews, especially technical interviews, to make sure that you're technically sound. But all 4 of these things are typically what you would experience during the technical interview process. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!